You are listening to the Backstage Pass podcast, hosted by Hannah Trigwell and brought to you by Thomann. Hello, Kaity Rae. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, I'm good. I say Kaity Rae, but isn't that your artist name? Is that the name you go under as a producer as well?
Yeah, it's just my overall music name, to be honest. Yeah, I don't ever use anything else.
The transition from artist to producer, was that because you were diversifying or necessity or change of focus? How did that kind of happen for you?
Well, I had my artist project for about 4 years when I was younger, and I did 2 EPs and I had a good time. I was really young. I started it when I was like 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I did loads of gigs. I had a really good time being an artist, but I went to university and did songwriting. And after I left, I had all these plans to keep going with my artist project. I had songs lined up. I was like ready to record stuff. And I just never did it. I just never felt like I really wanted to carry on for some reason. And so we got this room built down the bottom of my garden at my parents' house. And I was like, that would be a really great writing space. So I was like, I'm going to take a break from my artist project for a bit whilst I figure things out and convince my parents to let me change this into a writing space. And then I just started texting every artist I knew, being like, can I please write for your project? Like, I'm taking a bit of a break, but I'd love to co-write with you. And I started getting like little cuts here and there with my friends and other independent artists. And then in those sessions, I got like a mic that was like, I had a mic that was like 30 quid from when I was younger, and I already had Logic as well from being at uni. So I was making these like little acoustic demos, and they eventually turned into me being like, oh, I'd actually really like to add some harmonies to that, or oh, that would sound really great with some extra piano and a bit of bass, and oh, there's this thing called splice, and I can make all these drums. Because I had all these people coming around and I had all these songs, and most of them I just sent them the guitar and the vocal, and then in the evening I'd like just experiment with on their songs by myself, and then eventually it turned into me being confident enough to send people the stuff I was experimenting with. And then people started being like, oh, can you actually like produce my songs? And I was like, I'm a producer. I just thought I was, like a writer who dabbled in production a little bit. But yeah, that was kind of the transition. And then I ended up getting really obsessed with production. And now I guess, now I'm a producer. So that's the story.
Is producing your primary focus now?
It has been in lockdown, just because I think the writing has been really difficult. But I'd say the writing and the producing is pretty equal now for me, because I love both equally, to be honest. I couldn't choose one over the other, so I do call myself a writer-producer.
Yeah, that makes sense. We had Lauren on as a guest.
She's my best friend.
I know you. Actually, we were both singing your praises, obviously.
Bless you guys.
Because I said that I'd had a writing session with you, and that it was a great session, and I was surprised that at that point, I think you'd said that you'd only been producing for, I think you said you'd been producing for like 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, I've been.
And I was like, what? How is that? And so Lauren was just saying, that she said that she feels like you're the most naturally talented producer she's ever met. And I know that you're best friends, so maybe she's biased. But I also, you seem to have picked it up really fast. How did you do that?
I think it was honestly because I was doing sessions as a writer for quite a while, like probably over a year with producers before I started trying to do it myself. I'd been like watching everyone I knew and like taking in all that information and asking them questions, and just like, you sit in the back of a session, and for at least the last like 2 hours, you're just watching the producer and the vocalist track in the demo. And so I think I'd picked up a lot from that. And I also knew how to play piano and guitar already. So I was already lucky in that respect, that the musical side already made sense in my brain. So I didn't have to struggle with that. But yeah, and I think also just really loving it helps, because when it's difficult, you like push through, because then you're like, oh man, I actually finally made the sound I was going for. And it is very obsessive. Yeah. And if you're the kind of person that can't stop thinking about something until you do it, then production is definitely for you, because it will absolutely consume your brain. So yeah, that's how I think I like just got into it pretty quickly.
It's one of those things, isn't it? It takes such a long time that if you don't love it, it'd be very easy to stop.
Yeah. And I think like also just having a network of musicians and producers like Lauren around me already, if I had anything that I was like, I don't know how to do this, I'd just call them up and be like, hey, how do you do this? The amount of WhatsApp videos I've sent to people in the past 2 years being like, so I've got this problem on Logic and I think you can solve it because I don't know how to do it. And YouTube is a big resource for me as well. But yeah.
Oh yeah. So have you got any particular like YouTube channels that you would say are particularly good for like production tips that you've used?
So I really like Make Pop Music. That's a really good channel. They do production videos where it's really specific to a genre in pop and stuff. So they'll do like how to make a Lauv style track, or how to make something that sounds like Dua Lipa, or like Julia Michaels vocal processing. And I found that really useful because I'd go into YouTube and I'd type in vocal chain and it would be like all these guys just filming their screen, and it would be on a metal song or an EDM song, and I'd be like, well, that's not the kind of vocal processing I want to learn. So I found that channel super helpful for the current mainstream stuff. And there's also a girl who doesn't upload to YouTube, but she does some amazing stuff on Instagram called Alina, and she's part of a female production duo called Lyra. I think that's how you pronounce it. And she uploaded song breakdowns on her Instagram, and they're like 10 minutes long, and I'd always watch them and be really excited for her to upload them. And it was just so interesting and also really inspiring to see a female producer doing that as well. And I also recently found another girl who does really good YouTube tutorials called Lena Does Audio Stuff. I think her channel's called, but it's spelled LNA.
Do you think you'll ever go back and just be an artist again?
The thought of touring and releasing, it just fills me with anxiety, honestly. I remember,
it's a lot, isn't it?
It is, and I don't know how you guys do it, like building up to a release and having all those plans, and you plan stuff like 6 months in advance a lot of the time, and then everything leading up to one day, and it was so much stress, honestly. And I really love to be able to do a load of different genres and feel like I'm, fulfilling my potential in a lot of different areas. And it's just kind of, it's a lot healthier for my brain, I think. Being obsessed with how Lauv produces a song is not healthy for my brain. But being able to do all those different projects definitely is.
I was speaking to one of my friends who's a producer, and he just said for him, like, he was going to start an artist project, but then he realised the amount of what he would call bullshit that goes along with that.
When you're an artist, I feel like you get judged on so many different things that aren't your music. And I hated that. I just hated being like, oh, what am I going to wear? What's my hair going to do? I've got to do my makeup for this photo shoot, and then I've got to go there, and then I've got to play this gig, and everyone's, going to be judging my personality and my appearance and what I said about this and what are my opinions on that. But when you're a producer or someone who works behind the scenes, people just go, I love that song, that's great, how did you make that synth sound? And they don't care. Like they don't care about all the other stuff. It's like, do you make good music and are you talented? Yes, cool. Let's
I've seen that you've started doing more TikTok videos, and they're awesome.
I was obviously really bored, and I didn't have sessions in because no one was coming around, and like the online session thing hadn't really started to be a thing yet. So it was like a couple of like weeks before, and I just had this idea, and I was like, I'm gonna do these TikToks where I like pick a song out of a pot and pick an artist out of a pot and do that song in the style of that artist. So the first one I did was I picked out I'm So Tired by Lauv, and then I picked out Taylor Swift as the artist, and then I made I'm So Tired in the style of 1989 Taylor Swift, and that like blew up on the app, and I was like, oh, like that was really fun, and like I had a good time doing it. So I did a few more. And then the other day I did one that was like, I made Should Have Said No, which was like an OG Taylor country song, into it sounding like it was off Reputation. And yeah, it's going pretty good, but it's like, it doesn't feel the same as being on social media as an artist, because I'm not trying to like prove anything to anyone. I'm kind of just on there to have fun and also like inspire other like women to pick up production, other female artists, just like out there being representation for those people who want to get into audio. So yeah, it feels very different than being on social media as an artist, because I just feel like I don't really, it's just like a different thing. I'm doing stuff that I actually really like.
I guess you don't feel like you need to do that. If you didn't do that, then you'd still be doing production.
Yeah, totally. It's like I took like a month and a half break out of doing it, and then I came back and like everyone was still there, and like I made some more content and it got loads of views, and I was like, wow, this like, it didn't matter that I took a month and a half break of posting stuff, because I was still working on things outside of the app. Like social media isn't your life when you're a producer, really. And I love being on it just to like share what I'm getting up to and stuff, but you could definitely have a career without being as prolific as an artist on social media.
So in terms of what you use kit-wise, I can see a little bit of it behind you, but give us a little rundown of what gear you have in there.
So this is my new baby. It's a Neumann TLM 103.
Nice.
I don't have like the most powerful kit. Like I'm still using my Focusrite. I think it's a Scarlett. But I am getting an Apollo Twin very soon, which I'm very excited about. But I've literally been using that since I started producing. And then I just have my MacBook as well. And I've got some Rocket KRK 5s, which aren't that great for mixing, but they're really good for production sessions, because they make everything sound good. Like they sound very exciting, and the bass is quite good. So I find in writing sessions, you don't have to mix very much for it to sound good. And then you can kind of fix everything later, but they're not flat. They are like, they're DJ speakers predominantly, but I think they're like good for what I use them for, because I'm not a mix engineer.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but it's been so great to speak to you as always. I'm going to ask you this last question, but I feel like you'll be torn, because I know that you work with a lot of artists who release a lot of songs, but just give me the first one that pops into your head. What is your track of the week?
Track of the week?
Just a song that you love, that you've been playing a lot.
Okay, I know I really like a song, because like when you get in the shower and you just put music on, this is the song I've been typing in probably for like 2 weeks. And it's This Is How You Feel by Lute. Honestly, the production is like everything I ever want to be able to produce. It's like that really close percussive pop production. So Lute's a guy and girl duo, and I can't remember their names, but the guy in the duo produced it, and it's just such good pop production, and the songwriting is just like really catchy and simple, and yeah, it's everything I love in a pop song. So that's what's been on repeat for me.
My final question is, what is the best lesson that you've learned in your career so far?
Ooh, that is hard. I think it's like trying to be more confident in what you call yourself. For me as a producer, I wouldn't have called myself a producer confidently a year ago. I think I mentioned that earlier, but just like owning what you do is really, really important. I think especially as a woman in audio, that is very important. But yeah, like I remember when I had my first like cut out as a producer, and I still didn't have writer producer in my Instagram bio. It said songwriter, and it's just like, no, I literally have a cut as a producer. I should be calling myself a writer producer. But yeah, shouting about your work is not something to be embarrassed about as well. That's definitely something I've learned. And yeah, just owning what you do is a good thing. Yeah, calling yourself what you are.
Being proud of it. You're doing so well, and you've not even been doing it that long. It's amazing to see.
Well, thanks.
Well, thanks so much for speaking to me, and I hope you have a great week.
Thanks for having me. Speak to you later.
Thanks for tuning into this episode. Be sure to hit subscribe and leave a comment to let us know what you think. And I will see you next time on Backstage Pass.